Alright, I can understand, um, when someone might say that a black woman tends to like the tougher type of dude because of the sense of protection they get, right? It's like walking down the street with a Rottweiler or a pit bull. I used to have a Doberman when I was a kid, and when we would go get it washed, or when I was just walking around the neighborhood, there was that respect, right, for just everybody. It was a head turner, especially with Dobermans. They're really pretty dogs. I had a brown one, and he was purebred, so he looked, ears cut, tails cut. So it just got respect from everybody. That fear that, oh, if I let it off the chain, what is it gonna do? Right? Even though it wouldn't hurt a baby, it wouldn't, it was soft. It was just that fear. But this is misplaced, right? Honestly, a thug or a gangster, really is not that feared in terms of if you take him out the hood, because they can just call the police, right? There's not much he can do. Like, the whole act of I'm gonna physically beat you up, that that's done. Especially we live in the age of guns now, so the smallest dude is packing the heat, right? The youngest dude, the youngest and smallest dudes, those are the most dangerous ones, right? Because they got the heat now. People just don't fist fight. I remember even when I was in high school, in elementary school, at worst you got jumped or beat up at the mall or at a party. Now, dudes is getting shot, stabbed. It's ridiculous. So, I can kind of understand the sense of attraction, just getting with something that's more powerful, right? That other people, I don't want to say have fear of, but you know how it is. But here's the thing: an educated black man creates more fear and therefore has more power than a thug and gangster, because they can't call the police and just have me arrested, right? He has money, so he can show up at places even though they don't want him to be there. They can't just say, oh, you don't belong here. Nope, my money's good here. My money's better than yours here. So that's the true sense of power. I'm not even going to lie to you. There's going to college, and then working. I like that power. Before, when I first got to college, I shied away from the fact that I was the only black guy in the room. I hated it. Now, don't get me wrong, I like to be around other professional blacks, but there is a sense of empowerment knowing that I'm walking into a room with the same or probably more level of education than the non-black people around me. You get attention. It is what it is. All the jobs that I've had, I've always been around non-blacks who are also educated, right? And there's a sense of power walking in, right? But we don't see that. It's like, the Carlton Banks stereotype. A lot of people embrace that and think of that as a stereotype of educated black men. If you watch the show, even his friends, right, they loved Will because he was cool, he was from the hood, blah, 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 blah. But they looked at Carlton like, oh, look at you. So therefore, he didn't have that appeal. But Will Smith came through, and they were like, oh, wow. And even him he was an exaggeration. But if anything, I would say black men who are educated are more along the lines of a Will Smith than they are of Carlton Banks. That's just a gross stereotype in terms of Carlton. There's a sense of power. Trust me, there is. Even if this was in real life, right? If Carlton Banks walked in, he would still have that same sense of power, the same sense of, yo, my man controls what's going on. A woman would also get. And I think that's very important that we take a look at it. because, you know, no one really understands, you know, what it's like to be educated and black. Like, no one, I haven't really, there hasn't been any experience that we've seen, in my opinion, in terms of media. There's no movie or black movie or anything, in my opinion, that really sums up the sense of power, the positive side of being an educated black man in terms of power. Because that's one thing that they stripped away from black men, power. Hence, we want to be thugs and gangsters, right? Because, you know, we want to, I don't have any power, so I'm going to scare the hell out of you. Even though you can call the police, shit, I fear a white girl more than I do a thug or a gangster. Right? Because they can call the police and, you know, your whole life could be over in an hour or so. All she has to do is yell rape, and you go into jail for a couple of days before they sort it out, right? In the story. So I think we'll have to, like, really revisit that shit, man, and change up the stereotype, because honestly, a lot of this shit stems from the fact that, you know, that's what we see. Even on Fresh Prince, Will Smith, people forget he went to the same school, ULA, which is supposed to be UCLA, but they went to the same school. Hence, they got the same level of education. So it's almost like if you take Carlton Banks and Will and divide them by 2, I feel like you'll get an average, and you'll get the typical picture of what an educated black dude looks like. But a lot of people don't see that. They don't understand it because we don't, you know, as one of my professors, you know, coined it, we don't have on the hood artifacts. Right? It's not as blatant. But trust me, an educated black man has more power. The same way a thug or a gangster may walk down the hood, right, with his chest out, because he knows that in this part he's running shit. Honestly, it's the same way I kind of walk anywhere I'm at, because no one can tell me. There's no conversation that's over my head. There's no, you know, like in the world of white men, you know, in the world of whiteness, I don't feel out of place because of my being black anymore, even though sometimes it may be uncomfortable. I don't feel out of place, because at the end of the day, there's more people uncomfortable with me being there than I am with being there. So that's the sense of power I get, and I think that's the sense of power that a lot of black women aren't seeing. Don't get me wrong, it's in a woman's nature to be attracted to someone who's powerful. But they mistake the thug and gangster power as true power. Right? In my eyes, the ability to hire or fire is a more power than me that any gun can give me. Right? So, I don't know. Tell me how you feel.